I know.
What kind of creator God?
That's it. That's all I know. That's it. He created.
Well, what do you know about him?
That's it. I don't know anything else.
So how did you work that out? What was the way that you figured out that this creator God existed?
I don't know for certain. So I don't know he exists.
Are you certain it is a singular God?
Do you know that
I don't know anything further than what I've said.
How do you know?
I would see no reason for.
Prove it.
I mean, it's like, prove it. What do you?
It's like me saying that I believe the sky.
It's like literally, I said I don't know.
Why? I don't know.
Well, why did you say creator God and not just a creator?
Well, gentlemen, I think we need to ask a more cogent question. Do you want to know, Mr. Fiction? Because if you want to know the one true creator God, I'd be happy to introduce you to him.
I don't believe you know him. Showed nothing.
Mr. Batman's got his speed dial.
Either with his left hand or his right hand.
So I don't. You're not a source that I would go to, Mr. Batman.
Okay, so look, so far,
sir, truth doesn't care.
Skylar.
Wow.
If it's okay, Skylar, this is what we've got. You think that there's a creator God, but you've got no justification for why you think that. Is there any justification that you have that the external world exists? Or are you just, is that like presupposition that you hold also?
Yeah. Well, are you talking about when you say justification, like personal justification, objective justification? Like what kind of justification are you talking about?
I'm just like within your worldview, is there any way that you can account for the ontological nature of reality through your epistemology? Like the state of being.
Those are some big words.
Okay, that's why I'm rewording it. So is there any way that you can account for the state of being through the system you use to
what does that
come
mean?
to know truth?
Despite if you think those are big words, that was actually a very precise way to ask that question.
Sure.
Doesn't matter. He's not going to understand the big words.
Lord, yes. I can't try.
Let's just chill out, and we'll say it again. Try and get with me on this one, Skylar. Is there any way through your just listen?
I heard you the first time. Let me talk for a second. I understood I understood the words you said, right? But when you say give an account, like, are you saying, can you explain where everything comes from? Is that what you're asking me, basically?
No, I'm asking you if through your system of truth seeking, well, the system that you use to seek truth, you can come to know anything as a fact about the external world.
So I'm not the Christian God. I know that for a fact. Because let's do two things. I'm going to do two things to demonstrate it, right? One, if I was the Christian God, I'd know it. Definition. It'd be impossible for me not to know it. Second, I'm not the Christian God. According to the definition of Christian God, he can't lie. If I said I'm not the Christian God, I would be lying if I was the Christian God. So therefore,
I agree that you're not the Christian God, and you can know that.
Here.
But is the Christian God necessarily external to your mind? In your opinion,
I don't know if I don't believe the Christian God exists.
Yeah, but is it necessarily external to your mind? Is it possible that everything you know about the Christian God is something that you made up in a dream that you're having right now?
Foxy, I don't think that's the question. Sorry, you want to ask him. The fact that you're not the Christian God isn't really a fact about the external world, which is what you initially asked for, right?
Basically, yeah, I appreciate that. That is the better question. So let's go with that one.
Know by what standard?
Yeah, that's what I'm by your standard.
Well, what's that standard? I don't know what you're saying. Is that
I'm asking
you want me to give you a subject? You want me to give you a subjective standard to an answer?
No, I want to know what your standard is. I mean, it is going to be subjective based on your interpretation of the world, maybe. But I want to know what your standard is.
He wants to know what you take knowledge to be and how you can have such knowledge about the external world.
Can I just use the dictionary definition of knowledge? Is that okay? What's your definition of knowledge?
Dude.
Well, I'm asking you.
Okay, here we go. Knowledge.
What's your definition of definition?
Here we go. Here's we go. Knowledge. Facts, information, and skills acquired by a person through experience or education.
So
that's a good point, Face.
So by experience and through education, I can have knowledge. That's my definition of knowledge. So by
Okay,
definition,
let's break it down really simple.
Is this
if
your
you
way
may,
of avoiding the question by playing word games right now?
that's what he's doing.
I know what I think is you guys can't properly articulate what your real question is.
If I may, can I go down the line of questioning with them?
Can I finish my statement, please? And then you can go down the line of statement. Because what I think is right, what you're asking me is how do you, like, basically is how am I reasoning? Where does my reasoning come from, right? And the silly part about this is you guys don't want me to use my brain to see if my brain is working.
I don't mind. I'm asking you how you do it.
Oh, no, your brain is rather limited.
I use my brain. I use my brain. I use my brain.
You use your brain to reason to conclusions. You think you have reasonable cognitive faculties. You base that on the fact that you have experiences and your experiences seem to be in line with your senses.
You don't need to ask it another way.
Yeah?
I understood it.
Yeah, so why can't you answer?
There is no way that you can reason without using your brain.
No, I think the idea is that a lot of people use their brains, and I'm sure there are some of those people using their brains, in your view, that don't come to conclusions that are rational or justified, or that aren't even reasoning at all, but who think they are. And
why would
he's asking, how do you know? You don't think there are such people?
No, but what would be cases where that would be effective? People with brain damage. I've recently been to the doctor. Had machines measure my brain to see if it was working. I was in a car accident. So I didn't use humans. I was actually able to use machines that could look at my brain and see the functionality of it.
Yeah,
so
and
your
then
your worldview comes from some machine they hooked you up to?
That's what it is. My worldview comes from a machine. I mean, that's what you guys are talking into here. You're not even asking coherent
you're
questions.
Not
the point is you guys have a real question you don't want to ask. Right? You're really asking about
what is a functional brain in your perspective?
That's not the point. The point would be that the thing you were using during that experience of going to get the test is also the very thing that's in question. So you attesting to the experience.
The question is, how does he know that there's a God when he has nothing? He just said, I don't know.
What?
You guys think
there's
no, he also pursues nothing.
I hate
that's not what the question was.
It's just too many people.
Oh my god!
I think you're laying too many questions on him.
Trying to ask him.
I know he's overwhelmed.
I hear so many people talking, and you guys want me to have a dialogue with you, but
You're
I can't have a dialogue with 5 people.
We're chilling. I mean, free speech
Discord, not dialogue.
I sort of stepped back because free speech was asking good questions that were in line with essentially the same line that I'm trying to go down. Obviously, it's difficult, so we're going to be patient with you. You know what I mean? But maybe we'll have to ask a couple of times.
Don't condescending to me, bro, and act like
I'm not condescending you. I'm trying to tell you I appreciate your effort.
We'll be patient with you.
What definition of condescending are you using?
I mean, this is getting very. He's getting
At some
very.
point,
The
we gotta
plain
realize
definition
Skylar's
according
more
to
of a
his
distraction
brain.
than what he's providing.
Well, it's one guy, and there's a bunch of guys yelling at him. It's a bit of a dog
It's always obvious when he says it, not so obvious when anyone else says it. Amazing.
Ladies and gentlemen, at some point we got to realize that what
everybody's got to
saying
stop talking.
is
Everybody's got to stop
distraction.
talking right now. Shut up, please. Thank you. Stop over talking. Stop dogpiling him. We don't need people chirping in the background. If we want to get somewhere in this, stop talking, Asher. If you don't shut up, I'm going to mute you for 5 hours. Okay?
You're 60 based.
Okay, it's done. It's done. It's tyranny. It's just ridiculous. You're trying to. How are you supposed to get order when people are fucking acting like knobheads? You know. So this guy's getting muted because he's always an idiot. He never adds anything good to the conversation. Skylar, I'm going to try and make it as, friendly to you as possible, as you're the only person on your side of the debate. But there are a lot of people, and you have to understand, I'm trying my best, man. It's difficult.
What is his side?
He's
just agnosticism, theism.
Theists that believe
non-Christian.
They don't know anything, basically, so far.
I don't even know what the.
Is that true?
I don't know what you guys are even comparing to. I think in some weird way you're trying to think like you're not in the same boat here, as if your epistemology, your ability is different. Besides having
we've got a different system.
You have a claim of a different system. You don't actually have a different system.
What?
How do you know that?
Well, how would you demonstrate? Well, first of all, you'd have to demonstrate.
Your claim. You made the claim.
Hold on.
Just calm down, guys.
Let him speak.
Jesus fucking Christ! If you don't let him finish,
he's chipping out.
Oh, this guy's freaking out.
One second, just stop stressing, Fiction. I've got to mute people.
What were the results of the brain test?
You're the lol cow here, guy.
Look, Grog, stop doing that, man. I really don't want to have to mute people for over talking, but you definitely try to encourage that sort of behavior, and it's not going to go down here. You know, I don't care. I'm friends with people. I like people, but there's no way that I'm going to let them destroy the chat. Okay. So I know that you like this shit. It's not going to happen. I'm trying to be fair to Skylar, you know, and whoever dogpiles him again with the bullshit, you know, heckling. If I catch you, you get muted and kicked out the room for 5 hours. Okay.
Just a second, real quick, just to say.
Yes, sir.
Real quick, okay, guys.
Aye.
I host people on my channel all the time. Paul Copan from God Is Not a Moral Monster. We've had PhD philosophers, right? And I'm able to have conversations back and forth very civilly, right? And we can understand each other because the goal is to understand each other and to have these conversations. I felt like every second I've been in this room, it just doesn't exist so far. So I'm hoping this is going to get better. Now, let me express my point that I made earlier, right? Because what I always hear with this presuppositional argument is what's basically happening is we have hold on one second, guys, real quick, because now I got.
Now, Fox, can I make a quick PSA?
Who was that?
This is me. Just so you know, this is being streamed to YouTube by Skylar himself.
My stream. That's what I do all the time. I'm doing a damn show. Now listen.
Yeah, I don't mind him streaming it or something if he does.
Well, others might care.
Full disclosure.
Okay, well, I'm glad that you mentioned it, and we appreciate that. Okay, that's all we can do.
Permission from this server actually to do this, but anyways, point is why these presup arguments to me are completely one-sided, right? Is I have the person I'm talking to, a room full of people who claim that they have the Christian God who is always truthful and reveals knowledge to them in a way that they can be for certain about certain things, but it's just a claim. Right? And then you hold me and you're like, oh, well, you're epistemology. You can't answer all these things. We can account for it. We can make a claim for it. Well, your claims mean nothing. Unless you can demonstrate, first of all, that the Christian God exists, and secondly, that he's all truthful. And I don't believe he's all truthful. I think he's the liar if I can go to scripture. But no one wants to ever discuss scripture. But go on. We can keep going.
Okay, so this is it, right? This is it.
Anything.
Just calm down, please. I'm going to open it up to somebody. So now we need one presuppositionalist Christian who wants to, explain why they hold that position.
Right.
Because he thinks it's irrational, and I definitely don't. So
Skylar, can we get your YouTube channel? Can I, stream snap
Skylar
you?
Fiction. Yeah.
Right, so if somebody who wants to respond to his point wants to speak, that's the main thing to go to. Talking about YouTube and stuff is important.
When you say cannot be demonstrated, is that through like a physical means, or would you also accept philosophical truths?
I would take if you have a philosophical argument, I'd be happy to hear your philosophical argument, as long as you have premises and a conclusion.
And you would accept that as a demonstration?
If it was a good argument.
So that's
but you have to provide the argument, right? Are you going to provide like an argument with premises and a conclusion?
I'm just asking for you what you mean by.
Okay, well, I mean, then this is.
One second, dude. One second. Okay, I know you got an audience to entertain, but in terms of when you're saying demonstrate, that just triggers my little thing saying, "Well, let me finish." Right? Are you talking about a physical sense? So, do you want me to show God to you to His face, or are you willing to accept other proofs about God which we can show you?
Do you just not hear what I just said about a philosophical argument with premises and a conclusion?
So you would accept that?
Yes, I would listen to a philosophical argument, premises, and a conclusion, and you know what? It may persuade me.
Okay, now.
Yeah, I mean, listen. Hold on. This is really the kind of questions you guys are really looking to ask me. Just like, would I accept your answer? This is what I call not wanting to actually debate the topic. It's talking about everything but the topic. Like
that's just your opinion. Can you let me finish?
Listen, yeah, and it's just your opinion what you're saying. So
you're just grandstanding for your channel.
I mean, there's your opinion.
Please, like I know, but dude, you're literally just grandstanding for your channel. Please stop. You're just trying to
I'm
save
giving you
face
an
to
answer.
your audience.
After all of what you guys were doing now, you're going to come attack me and say I'm grandstanding? After
You
all the
are.
mockery and
Dude, please.
You're
Okay,
literally
so
grandstanding to an
this has to
audience, and you just
stop.
showboating.
Yeah.
You're not answering any of the
ask the
questions.
questions. Ask questions if you have them.
Dude, this is
So
Skylar, man.
Skylar,
This
the
is
follow-up
complete
question to
bullshit.
that would be,
ADJ, stop a
not
second,
Fox. Can I
right?
please just ask him the question?
No, stop interrupting me, ADJ.
You
Stop.
let people have a
When I say
conversation.
no, it's over. Okay, well, you'll be out of it. If you can't respect the moderation, that's how it's going to be. Okay? So, Skylar, you aren't answering his questions. Okay? He's trying to ask you, like, simple questions, and you're upset about it.
No,
Now,
I
obviously,
answered
you've
the
got
question.
to stop,
I
please.
answered the question.
Please
No, don't
stop,
say I didn't answer the
bro.
question.
I don't want to
answered
have
the
to
question.
end it because you're unreasonable.
I don't care if you, but
right?
I answered the
He-
question. Don't lie.
Like, stop over talking me, right? He's trying to ask you a simple question, right? And you're saying that basically you're unwilling to engage with him because
Not
he
true.
doesn't understand he doesn't understand your position. So he's trying
Answer
to
the question.
understand it, but
Not
you're
listening.
like, oh,
Can I just ask him the
please
next question
stop,
now, not
please-
Fox,
please
please?
stop.
But Fox, you didn't
Stop.
listen because I answered the question. He'll tell you I answered the question.
Can I just ask my follow-up question to that,
If
please?
look, I'm just muting you, ADJ, and the reason I'm muting
Why?
you is because you keep over talking me. I'm trying to get it under control. I'm trying to get him to agree
We're all
to do it
adults
one
here.
by one in a reasonable way. Who else is over talking me? If that's you, Skylar, you're going to get muted too. I'm sick of it already. You can't over talk me. Okay? I don't care who you are. So he's got ADJ wants to ask you a question. If you think it's stupid or don't want to engage with people that have a disagreement with you, then you don't have to. You don't have to be here, but you don't have to ruin the chat for everybody else. Okay? I know you got your little channel or whatever. You're trying to make a show, but you know you got to engage like everybody else.
I did answer his question, and then I complained about the question.
Can I now please
It's
ask my follow-up
ADJ's
question?
show.
Can I please ask
I
my?
answered the question, and you did. Go ahead.
I
Go
would
ahead,
like
ask
to
your
ask
question.
the follow-up question, Skylar. Stop trying to
Please.
showboat for your audience. Okay? My question now is, did you come to the conclusion of the creator God based on an argument or based on an experience?
Based on experience.
Okay. So what was that experience?
A whole life experience. I was a Christian for a very long time.
Sweet.
I studied religion. Never.
He's answering.
In the corners of my mind.
He's answering.
Yeah, it's a whole. I couldn't explain it since it's a whole lifetime of experience and thought. I'm a big Alan Watts fan. That's actually not completely true. It wasn't completely just experience because I do listen to a lot of Alan Watts philosophy of him. So he had a big, strong effect on my thoughts too. So it is a little bit of experience and a little bit of argumentation and things like that.
Okay, so this creator God, you don't know who it is.
I've told you guys already. I know nothing about it. I just believe.
So how do you know it's a creator?
We exist.
That's a self-refuting statement. I know nothing about it, yet it's a God and it's a creator. That's two things you know about it.
Yeah. Then you could just. I would just figure you would follow along with basic stuff like I believe in creation because obviously there's creation. But hey, yeah. So I actually kind of said little about him earlier. Yeah, that's poor wording. Maybe I should just say I know very little about him if that would make you feel better.
At some point, we have to understand. We have to realize that he does not have the mental wherewithal to be discussing.
I don't care about your opinion on the criticism thing. I just want to ask him the question: do you think this, whatever you think you believe in God, do you think he has the potential and can actualize into this reality?
I don't know.
See, why do you even bother with somebody who doesn't know? If you
that's
have
what
no
I'm saying.
knowledge,
That's exactly
he can't even tell you if you tell him the truth because he has no knowledge of anything you tell him.
And he doesn't pursue it.
Nice day. What a terrible epistemology.
Okay, now,
guys, I have
one more question.
No, I want to know.
Please, one more question, please.
No, I get to respond.
Okay, everybody's got to stop again. Everybody's got to stop again. And Skylar, you know what? ADJ is going to get to ask his question, but he's going to have to wait for it. You're going to go first. You've been waiting patiently, and you've been reasonable answering the questions since the last situation. So go for it. What do you want to say, mate?
So that, I mean, this is what when I came in and said, guys, I said, I don't evangelize. I don't try to prove the point. I'm only asking these questions because you guys really wanted me to answer questions, right? It's not what I do. I do Bible discussions with biblical scholars on my channel. That's what it's about. So you're right. I told you this in the beginning. It's pointless to ask me about this God because you're not going to be happy with it. But go ahead, ask another question. That was the point.
Thank you.
Okay. Now, when you make criticisms against Christianity based on moral presuppositions, since you have developed these presuppositions from what it seems in your own mind, why are your value judgments greater than anyone else's to say that your criticisms of the Bible in terms of moral atrocities are wrong?
That's a good question, right? Now, typically, that's not what I do on my show. What we do is internal critique, and we build arguments based on God's own morality, and we show the contradictions with his own morality. Right?
That was a dodge.
If you think that's a dodge,
I'm just
that
referring.
was a complete dodge.
Skylar, I'm just referring to your drowning a baby's comment earlier in the piece.
That was a question. That wasn't an argument. I just wanted to see. I'm interested because I noticed that like Calvinists versus typical evangelicals treat the answer to that question very differently. Right? And I've been talking to many Calvinists lately. So it was interesting to me to hear, and I can now learn by listening to
what
people.
have I got to do with the conversation right now? Like,
I mean, if you can't follow it, man, I can't help you. Just being rude and condescending, and you're not trying to understand what I'm saying.
Yeah, I mean, I am definitely trying, and you can't, judge everyone based on the reactions of one person. That's okay.
Well, I'm just talking about him personally.
No, I hear you, and I'm just trying to reaffirm that there's a lot of.
I think you're purposely not trying to understand it. Yeah.
I've been asking you questions and then following up with questions based on your answers. I would have to listen to you.
Okay, so this is it, right? It seems like Skylar, you made an argument there that essentially, if you're not, reasoning to conclusions about your position based on evidence, then it's not a very good position. And you'd critique anybody that came forward and said that they believed in the Christian God, for no good reason. You'd critique them. So why is it okay that you believe in a God for no good reason, but they aren't allowed to? And why? Well, you said
I just
earlier
demonstrated that to you, and you have to believe philosophical truths as demonstrations. You said it yourself. Hello, audience. My name's Eddie J. I don't have a channel, but you should sub to me.
Fox, when did I do that?
I just
didn't do that any time in this room. I never once made any argument. I asked one question about how people feel emotionally about something, how you deal with it as a Christian with these difficult passages.
Yeah.
Right, is what the question was. And then it was all questions on me. And like I said, the particular question about what I don't use my own morals to judge God. That's not the point of my argument.
You told us about your channel and how you critique Christian positions from an internal perspective. Like, if you're doing like critiques of Christian perspectives from an internal, from an internal perspective, then don't you do that to your own worldview? And do you hold your own worldview to the same standards that you're trying to hold these other positions to? Because it definitely doesn't seem like it on the face of it. Your worldview is unjustified. You believe in certain things which are basically just presuppositions without any evidence. You believe in this creator God that can't communicate with you based on I don't even know what.
Okay.
Not it, and then you're like, oh, the Christian God doesn't make sense. I mean, the Christian God does make sense. It's a coherentist system, and your system doesn't sound coherent at all. So
it's a lot of straw man's what you're doing here. Now, if you'd like, I can show you exactly what I do on my channel. I have an argument that's an internal critique to show the contradiction within God using his own standard to show a contradiction. Would you guys like to see that and answer the questions?
It's going to be like a 4-hour random discussion.
It's literally going to take 5 minutes. There's the condescending.
I mean, why should we do that?
To answer your question, no, I would not like to hear.
Wait, real quick. Let me ask you a question. Can you give a reason why we should do that?
I don't care if you do, guys.
Considering that you provided no articulable reason why you have any ground to criticize our position or any other theistic position.
Either of you, and I didn't try to evangelize.
That's a very good point.
Guys, I didn't come in here trying to make arguments for my God. I just let you ask me questions, and I answered anxiously. Mute the guy who's doing that little noise, please.
There's a lot of things you don't try to do, but you end up doing anyway, and this is one of the things
This
that
is
you
just
end up
all
doing.
empty claims and opinions, guys.
Are you Tom Rabbit's brother or something?
When I was asking you about your worldview, right? I mean, all this other stuff is unnecessary. You telling us about your show, the YouTube stuff, everything to do with all of that, completely unnecessary. Because the whole point of this was me asking you if you have a coherent system by which you evaluate truth claims in your worldview, and whether you can come to know something objective, right? In a way, like basically, you can come to know the ontological state of reality, the state of being. You didn't. You said no, basically, to being able to do that. You don't know.
I don't know where everything comes
believe
from.
in God, from what I gathered,
you're monologuing.
And the rest of it is essentially meaningless. It meant nothing to us.
No, hold on. I'm going to respond now. Once again, I can't tell you where everything comes from. And if anybody in this room wants to step up and do anything besides make the claim, then do it. Make an argument. Until then, you're all in the same boat as me. Stop trying to be hypocrites. Criticize me for not being able to. I'm still talking, motherfucker. Get back and slow down. Come on, guys.
Skylar.
Oh, still talking. Here we go. Right? Unless someone has something other than a claim and doesn't want to just be hypocritical and say, hey, you can't tell us where everything comes from. You can't tell us where knowledge comes from. And
Skylar, based on your reasoning, then I have just as much evidence to believe that the sky is made out of pudding than I do to believe in anything that you say.
Can you demonstrate the Christian God communicates with you, gives you direct revelation?
Yep, it's called the Bible, sir.
That's the claim. That really shows how good.
No, that's the evidence. That's it. So the Bible doesn't. The Bible doesn't make that claim. Okay, so
the Bible is an answer, bro. What are you arguing? You're walking.
Bible. You said, "Does God speak to us?" Yes, it's through revelation that's been recorded in the Bible. That's the evidence.
It's the claim. The Bible is the claim.
The Bible doesn't make that claim, sir. It's the evidence. You're confusing the two.
Yeah. You can call it evidence all you want. It's a claim.
Okay. So why is it okay for you to claim that your God, with no evidence, the pudding sky God, is real, but when we say the Christian God is real and that we've got justification through,
just straw man. You keep talking.
Skylar, the only person strawmanning is you.
I never said.
Your internal critique thinks that the New Testament is the claim. It's not. It's the evidence.
The pudding God that you believe in, the pudding bit was a joke.
It's
like you say you do internal critiques, right? Have you even read the introduction to Luke? Many have undertaken to draw up an account of the things that have been fulfilled amongst us. That's some person describing that they're drawing an historical account. That's not claims, sir. You don't do that by just making claims. You need to do that by using evidence. So the New Testament is evidence.
I mean, that's your claim.
Are you conjoined?
I mean, I have biblical scholars that we actually have discussions for people who study the Bible.
Name a scholar. Name one.
Dr. Joshua Bowen.
Dr. Joshua Bowen doesn't have. Dr. Joshua Bowen is not a New Testament scholar, so why would you bring him up in a conversation about Luke's prologue, Skylar?
Oh my Lord, we were talking about.
So I'm going to ask a very simple question, Skylar. Are you conjoined at the?
You guys got to have more nuance thinking. You guys got to have a little bit more nuance to your minds when you're talking about these things, and not just try to go after a specific word I said just to try to play a get me or got me game. Just talk to me like a human being, and we can have a good dialogue.
You were talking about New Testament reliability.
These awful, toxic conversations.
You just put New Testament reliability as a claim. Joshua Bowen deals with the Old Testament.
Let's go one at a time.
I wasn't talking about just the New Testament, bro.
Sir, it's called a gotcha, not a guide.
We've had other scholars on the show.
Okay, so I appreciate that you've had great conversations with other people before, and we could make this maybe a great conversation.
Who study the Bible,
hopefully, no, there's a lot of people here that study the Bible. So
anybody have degrees in the Bible?
Maybe some people definitely. I know a number of people in this server that definitely have a very high level.
Right now, in the room right now, is there anybody that has? How about anybody who has a college degree?
Why? Yeah, Skylar Fiction, let's Before we move on,
why would that matter? I mean, there's a lot of lifelong.
You needing to be taught something,
before we move
sir.
on,
I am
Skylar
a
Fiction,
professional teacher.
Do you have Skylar Fiction? Do you have a degree in biology?
Well, sir, I'm going to go ahead and offer my services. I can teach just about anybody.
Skylar
even
Fiction,
you,
do you have a degree in biology, sir?
I don't
talk
we need
evolution.
to shout
We
over.
don't talk science.
So to be clear, Skylar Fiction does not have a degree in biology. So by his own standard, I would assume that you're not sure if you're a man or not. So we'll continue now that we've established the standard.
This is turning into a dumpster fire, and I want Fox. I want Fox to immediately moderate this. This is becoming annoying. I came here to talk to Mr. Batman, and this is what I have to deal with. We're entertaining some guy that has no mental wherewithal to talk about this stuff.
Oh yeah. I mean, this is just personal attacks.
I feel like this is what we're gonna do, right? This is what we're gonna do. There's been a couple of people that wanted to raise some kind of criticism to Skylar's position, and I feel like we should let them go one after the other until the criticisms have fully been raised, and then Skylar can respond to that in one statement. And then after that, it's going to be a dumpster fire because I'm not doing anything after that. I'm going to leave.
Can I ask, why does nobody ever want to just talk about the Bible with me?
I don't know, bro. Why don't you?
Because they don't know enough about it.
That's the truth.
The thing is that the arguments that we've heard so far, if as a criticism to you, because I said that we're going to put these up first, is that basically, please don't overtalk. Thank you. Right? Is that basically, please don't, bro. Why are you being a weirdo?
No one has made any. I haven't even got a chance to make an argument.
I'm saying that you can go at the end and have the last word.
Well, yeah, you'll give me one last statement at the end instead of someone being
after everybody. So you can take some notes. You can put down everything everybody said. Respond to every single point. I've given you the fairest chance.
Go ahead. Let's line up and let's ask questions, man.
Honestly, dude, stop over. I'll just mute you, and everybody will just talk about you. If you keep interrupting, bro.
Can I ask Skylar one simple question?
I feel like I've already said what's going to happen, and I was in the middle of just offering up the first point that I wanted to say, which was he basically has refused to engage in a conversation. He's been complaining about the moderation. I've definitely given him a fair chance. Please stop. I'm just going to mute you until we're done.
Bullshit. Don't lie.
Take control of your room, for God's sake! Don't you know how to moderate?
God.
Oh, you know what, Sassy? You know what's really funny about you complaining about that is that you'll get a 5-hour ban from the. Oh, she's gone. Okay, you 5 hours. I'm going to lock Sassy out. But yeah. So if somebody else wants to make a point, and then because he's been obstructing, he's not really tried to engage with the conversation. He's been asked a number of questions, and he's just basically saying that we've not got a degree in Christianity or something.
Basically,
Fox. I
just did say he wanted to run his. He did want to run his argument that he usually does with someone in the room. I don't know. That'd be kind of interesting to see what he usually does.
Fox, are you there?
Yeah.
Okay. You're room moderator. Do I have your permission to ask Skylar a question?
No. Yeah, go for it, mate. That was you could have just gone in, but yeah, go for it.
Okay, I'm just trying to be polite of the server.
You're doing an amazing job of that, bro. Don't worry. Yeah, fantastic.
Okay. So Skylar, my question to you is: it sounds like you would like to perform some kind of analysis or critique of the Bible. The second part of this question to follow up, because you'll be able to answer that question. I believe it's rhetorical. But if you're going to critique the Bible, my question to you is whether or not we would find the Bible in its current form inerrant, meaning that there's no errancies or issues with the Bible. Would that negate whether or not Jesus Christ rose from the dead?
Okay, I don't know if he's still muted, but
can you guys hear me now?
Yes.
Okay.
Who unmuted him? It's up to me to unmute people. Don't talk over me, bro. Look, don't unmute people if I've muted them. I was going to unmute him, but I'm going to deal with this because obviously he's been over talking a lot. Go for it, Skylar. Answer the question.
Answered every question. I'm going to answer this question now. Whether the Bible is correct or not, Jesus, yeah, there could be a Jesus, and Jesus could have rose from the dead. Okay. But that's not. I want you to understand that when I talk to Christians on the channel, we don't give them our interpretation of Scripture. Now, if we're talking something historical, like if I have a scholar on or something like that, and we need to have a more detailed conversation, maybe the scholar will. What I do is I ask the Christian what they believe, how they interpret the Scripture, and then I use how they interpret the Scripture as an internal critique. So I hope that answers your question, and I hope that explains what I kind of do more. It's not about me interpreting it or understanding it. It's about understanding what they believe, how they interpret it, taking their information, and then using that information to show whether it is consistent or not consistent. But Jesus could exist. The Bible could be inerrant, not inerrant. It could be Jesus.
I mean,
could have rose from the grave.
Hold on, Fox. I'm going to get one reply and then I'm done. I'll concede.
Yeah, carry on, bro. Your call. It's your line of questioning.
Okay, Skylar. So you'll have a chance to respond, of course, to this. It sounds like you are conceding that it is possible Jesus Christ rose from the dead, that the Bible, even if you poked holes in it, would not directly negate the possibility of that. And then the second part of this, or my response would be that when you're performing an internal criticism of a document or a source, you have to put that thinking cap on your head. You would have to become, an accepting of the Christian worldview and all the preconditions that come with it and the presuppositions. So when you perform an internal critique, you can't jump in and out of the Christian worldview lens. You have to accept all the parameters that go with that. I hope you understand that.
100% agree with you. Yeah, and that's what we do. Because that would be pointless if it's not really an internal critique if you're not accepting the premises, right? Now, what we might do is if they read a scripture, right, and it's just says something that's clearly plain, and they're saying it means something completely opposite, we may try to go back to the original languages. So my co-host, Dr. Josh Bowen, he speaks Hebrew, Aramaic, and Greek. He could read all those languages, right? So his major is in the Hebrew Bible. I can't remember his PhD is in Syriology, but he's got, I believe, a major in Hebrew Bible also, but he could read Hebrew. Now, what I was saying about Jesus is, listen, I don't have the Bible it's kind of like there could be a God, Jesus, who died and rose from the grave. I mean, the Bible could be 90% wrong, but that wouldn't change the fact if there was a Jesus. But I'm not someone who necessarily argues against Jesus. We typically focus on Old Testament kind of stuff. I'm actually kind of a fan of Jesus and what he taught, especially the stuff on the Sermon on the Mount. If you have a follow-up question to better understand what I'm saying, please follow up.
I can't do any more follow-ups at the moment. I got my 1-year-old in my lap right now.
Sorry. Well, thank you for being charitable and listening to what I was saying and responding.
No, I appreciate your answer. And what is it? So the thing is that you're saying that you're looking into people's worldviews and you're judging whether they're coherent. And again, just to hit home that point, and I think we're going to change the structure where we're going one by one, I think. So someone's going to go next and they can have a line of question, and I feel, and if they come in a polite manner, then they'll get the chance, I'm sure, and we'll give you a fair chance to respond. And maybe I was wrong originally, and that's a better way to do things. But it seems like you don't hold your own God position to the same standard that you expect of other positions. I don't understand how you could judge a Christian worldview as incoherent when you just have this mad belief in a creator God for no reason, basically. I just can't understand it, honestly.
Well, I mean, you not understanding is not really a matter to me. But what I will say is that I don't make claims about my God. I don't evangelize, and I don't claim to know it, unlike Christians. Christians claim this to be. Hold on, I'm responding, please. One-on-one. I'm talking to this gentleman, please. So I don't make claims about my God. I told you from the very beginning, I don't know. I didn't have that information. I told you it was going to be boring, and you're not going to get much out of me. So, but when we're talking about Christianity, though, you're talking about Christians typically, right? Not all Christians, because I've had Christians who don't do this, but they're claiming this is the truth. And well, when you claim it's the truth and that you're right, well then, and you have more information to where we can have a bigger discussion, right? With my, there's nothing to talk about with mine, right? With yours, we have a whole Bible with Christianity that we can discuss. So it gives a lot more information to have those discussions and do further internal critiques.
Okay.
Can we stop engaging with the ignoramus? Is that possible? Because he just said he doesn't know.
Who's saying that?
That's not, first of all, that's not
Who
the
said
point of the
that?
conversation.
Sorry.
I didn't come in here trying to evangelize.
Was that top
I'm a little confused, Skylar. What's your point when you say you don't claim anything about your God? Like, what does that? I mean, isn't that just wouldn't that just be a character flaw with you?
No, because you guys are making it like I don't know anything at all. I can't talk about any subjects. It's like you asking me about biology or evolution. I'm not a biologist. I'm not studying biology, and then you'd be like, we can't talk to him about anything because he doesn't know evolution. Well, that's not what I discuss, right? I'm sure everybody says, hold on. I'm still finishing. Please, one at a time. We talk about, when we have conversations, everybody in this room has things they know more about than other topics in life. It could be because they work in a field or they have an education in a particular field. But that's just the way, but it doesn't mean my words don't have value and we can't have a good conversation. Right? I just don't, that's why it seems like it's just mean-spirited what you're kind of coming after me.
Well, no, I'm not. I didn't say anything mean-spirited at all, actually. I actually was very curious because I believe in God, so I figure if you believe in God, then you must have some level of conviction about that. And therefore, if you don't talk about what God means to you, then that would reflect some lack in you where you don't feel satisfied with your God. And I want you to come to Jesus.
Was it Jesus who said fools don't argue with fools?
I don't know what.
Why don't you quote me book, chapter, and verse on that?
I mean, he just called me rude. I don't know where he's not getting.
That was a stab at you, really. That was unnecessary, honestly.
Yeah, and this is why I think this guy is just an atheist LARPing as a theist.
That's exactly what it is. That's exactly what this person is doing. He wants to claim ignorance.
I feel like Mr. Batman's next in line here. If Skylar's cool with that, then we're going to continue.
Well, see, here's the problem with Mr. Skylar Fiction. He is a fiction. He's a LARPer, as it was mentioned earlier. He is not truly any type of theist whatsoever. If you don't know who your God is, how do you know what your God wants you to do? What his plan is for your life? What is morality according to your God? If you've never met your God or don't know your God or don't have a scripture from your God or revelation from your God. See, the Bible God gives revelation and gives prophecy. Almost half the Bible is prophecy. And you know what? That tells us that comes from God because only God knows the future. Mr. Fiction doesn't know his God. He doesn't know anything about what his God wants for him. So he doesn't know why morality works the way it does. That is a problem.
Hold on. I get to respond, I hope, to that.
What for, dude?
I get to, that's how it's going. I mean, someone talks, I get to respond, I would hope. Make this fair. Those are just a bunch of claims, right, from Mr. Batman. His personal opinions, right? He can claim that he knows God and what God wants him to do and say and how to live his life, but those are just empty claims until he can demonstrate it.
Okay,
sir. I'm just not quite getting moderation.
I would be happy to demonstrate that to you, sir.
Am I not going to get moderated?
I would be happy to. Would you like for me to demonstrate for you, sir?
It's okay.
Look, I'm sorry. We've got to moderate this again.
Hey, Skylar,
I
will
don't
you
think
shush?
he's quite finished there, Mr. Batman. He maybe wants to get another sentence out or something. So just try and sit tight. What were you ending with there, Skylar?
Yeah, it's just like, it's about. I just want to have a dialogue, right? And I just wanted to point out that it is just claims he's making, and if he wants, I'd be interested to see his demonstration. But I just want to point out that he's in the same boat as I am, that he's complaining. Well, I'll say that he's complaining about me when he's drowning in the same boat. So go ahead, Mr. Batman, if you'd like to demonstrate.
Excellent. Sorry. Are you ready to go, Mr. Batman?
Sorry, I had to go let my dogs in. But yes, And you know what? And sir, I'm not in the same boat as you are, sir, because you're in the boat. You make up your philosophy as you go along, and everything that you have in your philosophy, sir, you stole from the one true philosophy, from the truth, sir. So, since you can't justify how you know anything at all, and since all the treasures of wisdom and knowledge are hidden in Yeshua HaMashiach alone, that's Jesus the Messiah alone, and you don't know that, then you don't have any knowledge, sir. So I'm not even going to bother arguing with you. The stupidity of your argument, well, I'm stupid and I don't know, and you can't tell me I'm wrong because I don't know. That's an ignorant subject, sir. That's an ignorant stance, rather, to take. Now, you understand this, that you know God as well as I do, because God made you know. For what can be known is known, and you know it as well as I know it, sir, because God has forced it upon you. You have no choice in the matter. Now, again, and it's not just any God, it's not just any particular creator. No, there's one, Yahweh. He is the one true God, sir. And I can prove this through logic. You see, when we actually look at what logic is, what is logic? Where does it come from? The law of identity. Where does that come from? Oh, yeah. It comes from Yahweh, when he is revealed to us in the burning bush. This is why we have the burning bush. It's called the menorah, the light, the burning bush that never gets consumed. And God says, I am that I am. So God gives us his attributes so we can know who he is. And one of those attributes is identity. He gives us an identity. Now, without a loving, living, logical lawgiver God, then you don't have laws of logic. You don't have laws of physics. You don't have laws of mathematics. And that, sir, is a huge problem on your worldview, because you have to be able to justify why these things exist. And you would admit, just as well as I would, sir, that you do have the laws of identity, non-contradiction, and excluded middle being a necessary precondition of laws of physics, cause and effect, things of this nature. So, if your worldview, rather, cannot explain the things in the world that you view, then you have a broken worldview. My worldview can explain why we can have a law that never changes over time in a universe that is constantly changing over time. Why? Because that law is dictated by the Creator God, whose truth never changes. Psalm 119, verses 89 through 92. Forever, O Lord, your word is firmly fixed in the heavens. You have established the earth, and it holds fast to this very day, for all things are your servants. God's law, God's perfect, unchangeable law. Now, I know why we can have laws that don't ever change, because I have a lawgiver that doesn't change. You don't know. So have a nice day. Repent or perish.
Amen. That will preach, Mr. Batman.
Right. Okay. So I'll respond. I won't respond as long as he did, because I don't think that's really appropriate to do. There's a lot of gish galloping there. First of all, it was just claim on top of claim, on top of assertion, right? Saying what he knows and what he's attributing to his God. These are all things he just believes are the truth, right? There was no demonstration. For someone who wants to say they weren't going to argue with me, they took a long time to go through all that. Now, like I said, if he's going to demonstrate that God exists, or he wants to actually have a conversation back and forth, we can do that. That was a monologue that didn't really present or give actual evidence, or even a philosophical argument. You just claimed that these laws of logic, these laws of the universe, comes from your God. But it just wasn't very compelling to me. But you have a blessed day.
Great. So, I don't know. I mean, obviously, if it's okay, Skylar, while I don't know how popular your stream is, but like, we're doing the Theist Experience in the PNR server. So if, people want to get involved in that ever, then we appreciate the audience that you're bringing. Is there somebody else that has a line of questioning that they want to put to Skylar?
Why does this have to be revolving around Skylar?
I actually have a question for Mr. Skylar.
Because everybody's got lots of questions for Skylar. That's why.
Oh, well, I tell you what, I'm going to bow out. Y'all have a good evening. Repent or perish. Visit MrBatman.com. Have a great day.
Thank you, Batman. Have a good
All
day.
the greatest nudes you can find.
Okay. So, does anybody else want to go down the line of questioning with Skylar?
Sure, I
We
will.
talk about the Bible, but we don't have to. Go ahead.
Sure. My question is, why do you prevaricate so damn much?
Ooh, why do you have such strong opinions when you can't show that objective morality exists?
So you prevaricate because others can't.
Oh no, it was a question. It was a question to you back. I said, why do you have all these opinions, like you're presenting as facts, right? But can you demonstrate that objective morals exist and it's wrong to do what I'm doing?
I don't have the wherewithal to talk to you about this.
Okay.
I was pointing out
Well,
moderation.
I appreciate your engagement there, and I feel like we're going to move on to the next person then.
I have one more question.
So, why? Why do you have another question? I thought that you'd given up.
Well, this isn't a theological question. My question is,
Okay,
are you conjoined at the hip with Tom Rabbit or something?
Dude,
Well, honestly, I don't even really talk to Tom Rabbit much. I think I've only talked to him in person. Well, on video and live chat twice. It's okay. I mean, assumptions are like, you know what they're like. But you got any theological questions? Any actual real questions?
Yeah, so I mean, please stop, bro.
What do you see?
Do you want to go, Aquila? Sorry, I didn't see you there.
What is the objective of life, as you said? Like, what's the goal of life?
Live. I have my first, I love my children. I have a lot of empathy, human beings, and I like to do. I do a lot of trying to support work in my community to help people. I used to teach technology to underprivileged children with the company I used to work for. Kids that didn't have access to a lot of computers and technology. I just like experience of life and showing love to others and I care about. That's what I live my life for, my family.
But we all die, right? So it's a pretty pointless thing if we say it's life and
it's pointless to you. It's not pointless to me. I mean, you can think it's pointless, but I don't think it is.
I'm just pointing out to you, it's like ultimately we all come to death.
Yeah, so what? I don't care. It doesn't mean I don't enjoy it now.
Do you believe in an afterlife?
And that's the irony is you don't really believe that.
We know why we
don't.
Afterlife? We know we don't believe it because God bestowed meaning upon us as human creatures.
That's the claim. If you demonstrate that, we could talk.
No,
about
I don't need your nonsense. I get it, you don't believe it. I'm not here to question that you don't believe it. I'm saying that this is the case, and that's our position. This is our stance. So, I think if you have a problem with the Christian God, I think we should just go down that road. So let's just ask you, what is your problem? Yeah, let's just go down it. What is your issue with the Christian God?
That's a great. Yeah, that's what I was waiting for. Really, is someone to take it down there.
So I have some premises and a conclusion, okay? And I'm gonna read the premises, and you tell me where you disagree. Premise 1: God's nature is the root and foundation of morality. Agree with that?
Mm-hmm.
Premise 2: God can do nothing that goes against his nature.
Maybe he could, but he's not going to.
You think he could do something that is not him, like goes against his nature?
No,
I'm not here to speak on the metaphysics of God. I'm just going to tell you what he will and will not do.
We don't see it possible.
Well, so I guess I can't. Like I said, if you don't know the answer to that premise, then we can't go any further. Now, somebody else. Does anybody else agree that God can do nothing that goes against his nature?
God wouldn't violate his nature, no.
He can't. It's impossible. It'd be like God being a liar. He's not a liar.
This is a weird point to start gerrymandering.
Okay, well, look, you got off the line
there,
and ABJ's answering questions now, and that's where we're at.
I mean, if you don't want to go with the premises, we don't have to. But
I'm fine. No, just continue. Okay. One person.
So God. Can
wait, real quick. real quick.
Oh, dude, let's just hear the end of it. Let's just hear the end of
Dude,
the.
ADJ, stop. Let me say this.
Yeah, just stop, please. Let's hear Skylar
important.
do his thing or whatever. And
It's
I think
important, but
ADJ is going against him now because you didn't agree to the premise that, you know, God can't go against his nature or something, and ADJ has, and that's why he's, I guess, arguing the position that Skylar's arguing against.
I just want to hear the conclusion before we start tearing apart.
I need to.
Please.
Well, we need to make sure that we agree with it because I'm not going to make an argument.
Yeah, so agree. Just go. Continue.
Yeah. Okay, that's fine. Premise 3: ordering the people to do evil would go against God's nature.
Yes.
Ordering the execution of babies is evil.
No.
Anything God orders to do is good.
I didn't say God.
I don't agree with that final one. That final one you put down, no.
No, that's good. So that's great. So this is where, in my audience, what I would tell people is like, this is what the Christian position is. It's not evil to order people to execute babies.
Didn't say that.
That was. Let me read the premise again. I'll read the premise because I think you maybe misunderstood the premise. Premise 4: ordering the execution of babies is evil.
No.
So
again,
it's not evil to order the execution of babies.
Again, it comes down to who is giving the order. So if that order comes from, say, you, yeah, probably going to be evil. If it's coming from God, as someone said earlier, God is just. He knows better for us. It's not for us to judge. It's not for us to question.
Unfortunately, it's not how objective morality works. There's no context.
How does it work then?
Yeah, it's stance independent. It doesn't matter in context, right? Lying, there's no situation lying would ever be moral because God's not a liar. Like I said, that's the reason premise 1, God's nature is the root and foundation of morality, where the good is God. God is the good. That's what there is. The opposite of God is the bad. Like anything that goes against God's nature, lying because God is truthful, that's where you get your moral standard as a Christian. That's the objective standard. So, I mean, we could fill in. We could use different examples for premise 4. Like instead of executing babies, we could say owning people as hold on. I just want to finish my point, and then you could just one sentence more. I could replace premise 4 with a bunch of things. Owning people as property is evil. Taking women and children as plunder is evil. It doesn't matter. These are all things God's ordered. He can't order these things because it would be immoral and it would go against his nature.
Okay. So, again, you're evoking the emotional response. Is it immoral for God to take... I am dealing with the argument. That's why I'm repeating the argument to you, right? So, a baby is a life. It's an emotional argument because you're engaging with a relatively young form of life in regards to a human aspect. So, but we all as Christians would also agree that a baby is just as valuable and it's just as worthy as just as much as dignity and made in the same image of God as an old man has. Okay, so the question should really be prefaced: is it immoral for God Himself to order the execution of others? Okay, probably more specifically of those that perceived have not have done anything wrong. Okay. That's what the argument would be because you're referring to the innocence in babies. The answer is
not. That's not what the problem is
outside of an emotional response. Why are you including babies if it's
well? That's what I'm saying. I don't have to use. That's why I gave you other examples that I could use. And once again, the fundamental problem you're going to have is he's standard. No, I'm not finished. He's the standard morality.
Sir, you interrupted him.
I wasn't finished, so let me finish, please. Okay. So if God chooses to give life, He can then freely take life. If He makes the decision that these particular babies are to be put to death through whatever means, God is just in doing so. Now, if your conclusion leads to the fact that that's the end of their existence and that's it, well then I think you're sort of not really understanding what the Christian believes. I would dare say all Christians in the room would say if God takes the life of babies, the next moment they will experience is sitting next to Jesus in heaven.
This is just special pleading. That's all it is.
That's not special pleading,
sir.
Well, that's your opinion, sir.
Nobody else can do it but God.
That is your opinion,
I'm still talking.
God has authority over all of these
moderation.
things.
He's still talking. I like
to be able to get a second in here. So, You see, you make me lose my thought. You guys do this. When you talk about shit, I don't think what I was saying here. God God's the moral foundation. Right? This is the problem. You don't understand what objective morality is. You're arguing God's subjective opinion, basically. You're making morality subjective by adding context here. You're saying that, hey, in some contexts, it's okay to own people's property because the Bible condones that, God condones it. In some cases, it's okay to take women and children as plunder. I mean, I can go through a whole list of these things, and you're going to have to say they're not objectively evil, right? Because there's contexts where it's moral to do these things. And that's fine. Like I said, you're right. In the end, this is what I tell people, right? Your God's not inconsistent. He just does evil actions, and he tells people to do evil actions. I'll just to touch one more thing on it. It took me a second to remember what I was talking about. It's not only just that he's taking life, folks. He's doing it in violent ways that are harmful to children and babies. Yes.
Okay, why is that wrong?
No, that's not the point. You're missing it out. Well, here, let me finish my statement. Okay, yeah, hold on. Let me finish my point, right?
Your whole point? No. Fox, can you let me I have to be able to explain that to him.
Well, I know. I understand what
Let's
you're going to
just
say.
let him go a little bit longer, and then you can ask the
Give
same
me a
question
minute.
straight
Especially
after.
what's his name, like rambled for a long time. Bible,
Just
whatever.
go, bro.
I got it. All right. Listen, it's how he does it. Right? You're going to say that he loves and cherishes and he values human life, but then instead of just taking the souls out of the baby peacefully in these cultures or just letting them die in their sleep, he has people execute them with swords. And the other aspect is who he's making them do it. He's making the Israelites do it. We know what happens when our soldiers go to war, and we don't have to even target children. They come back with extreme PTSD. Now imagine God making people do violent actions like that. Now your question was, why is that wrong? Right? Because to me, you don't have to agree with me on this answer.
Wait, can I stop you for a second? Sorry, no, can I stop you for a second?
I'll just answer your question, but go ahead.
The question was prefaced before a lot of that waffle was even said, right? So when I'm asking you the question,
this is just disingenuous bullshit.
When I ask you the question, why is that wrong? You're insinuating that the way that God chooses to take life and the way that he chooses to give life has to then conform to an external standard other than God, which would then put your position into a straw man, since you originally even said that God is the standard that we conclude our morals from, right? So this is to avoid the Ephro dilemma. Now, Skylar, remain consistent to your argument, because if you are to suggest that God is being immoral, you're then, as I said before, suggesting that an external standard. What is this external standard?
Okay, this is what you missed. That's what when I was answering your question, I was going to be able to answer this. I knew what you were saying already, right? At this point, I'm not trying to prove your God inconsistent, okay? I want the audience just to see how you guys react to this, right? And what you did is, instead of like wanting to hear like why I think it's wrong, because you don't think it's wrong. I'm not done.
You're avoiding the
question.
question.
Okay. I mean, listen, whenever I'm allowed to talk, you guys just let me know.
But you're avoiding the question. No one cares what your
audience
thinks.
I'm not. I was answering it. When you have a conversation and we're having something that's as complex as what we're having, it needs nuance. And one sentence snippets that you're trying to get out of me.
Don't appeal to your audience as a position of the argument.
I'm not even referencing. I'm not even talking.
What's the external standard?
It's not an external standard.
He's already said it.
It's the reaction. If you let me speak.
How can you criticize?
ADJ, the external standard he's given is the emotional disgust of his audience.
Absolutely. It's just an appeal to emotion.
Yeah, I mean, he's just giving his own opinion, and that's irrelevant. That's just subjective.
You don't even know what my point is, guys. You haven't heard it.
Skylar, I think it's fine. Skylar, I think it's fine.
Let
Skylar clarify.
If we don't want to.
And this Seraphim guy, sorry that I cut you off there, but I mean, we've got to let Skylar go. I think we're going to let Seraphim say his point after that, and then we'll get back to the, I guess, ADJ Aquila sort of flow of things.
All right, thank you.
So, only why I'm doing this, right, is I'm hoping in your heart, right, that you realize that you don't see any problem with it. You have no moral qualm with God being violent to children, hurting babies, when he could do otherwise. Now, if you want a contradiction, if you want me to show you a contradiction, it is God says he loves children, and then he hurts them in violent ways that are unnecessary. He can take and end the same goal. If his goal is just to end life, which you say he has every right to do, okay, fair enough. He takes the soul out of the baby, fair. But doing it violently in a way that's just purposely harmful, what is the justification for that?
So we've got that question in stone now. That's the question that's been answered.
It's a loaded question.
Yeah, I'll just say my piece.
Is gonna, if it's okay now.
Well, I'll just say this, and after I'm gonna shut up. All what Skylar is doing is giving his personal opinion. All I can say is I think that it's morally justified to kill an infant, and Skylar will just say, well, okay, that's your opinion, and Skylar will have his own opinion, that's where it's gonna be. And I just think Skylar doesn't have, a justification for why it would be not wrong. So that's just his opinion. That's the atheist. Excuse me, sir, I'm talking.
I appreciate it.
Sir, I'm talking. No, I'm gonna
finish. Let him finish.
I thought he was done. I'm sorry. Someone else jumped
in.
What?
So this is your opinion. So, Skylar, the question I'm going to ask you is, why is it morally wrong to kill baby? Go ahead.
Okay, I'm going to answer. First of all, you didn't answer my question. You didn't tell me why it was justified. You just said you didn't want to answer it. I was saying, now, if you want to know
we already told you.
God said so it's justified. Go ahead, Skylar.
Okay, good. So the reason why it's justified to harm babies in a violent way is because God said so.
Yes. What is your
now the answer to your question? I'm an anti-moral realist. Okay, so any kind of answer we give is based on my emotional opinions. So I have empathy for children. I don't want to see them harmed. I care about them.
Good?
I love them. And if you don't agree with that standard, you don't have to.
Okay.
I don't care if you do.
I don't agree with your standard, so this is what it does.
Okay, look.
About loving babies?
Well, I'm entitled to my own opinion. You can't tell me. You're telling me in your worldview.
You are.
Sir, you're telling me.
Seraphim, I'm sorry, mate. You said it. It's the third time. Obviously, we don't need to say things over and over again.
I'm not saying the same thing. He's saying. So you don't have any justification in my own worldview. So that's the atheist stupidity. This is what it does. Everything is subjective.
Yeah, I mean,
You're wasting our time.
Well, okay. Well, I'm going to respond again. No, hold on. I'm going to respond now. It goes back and forth, guys. So.
Yeah, I mean, everybody can go ahead. I'm done. I just wanted to say my part.
Thank you.
That's fair. Thanks for coming in. Thanks for coming in and sharing your. Thanks for coming in and thanks for coming.
If you make the emotional argument against Skylar, then it's going to look bad for you because you just keep saying the same thing. So please don't make the emotional argument again because we've already heard that, and it will just be a waste of time because we're going to respond to that.
All he's saying is that's what I think.
Please stop talking. It's Skylar.
Okay, I'm sorry.
He's not
go
going
ahead,
to make an emotional argument.
No, I just don't see what the point of that was, right? I don't know what the point of coming in just to tell me that he doesn't care about my standard, which is fine. You don't have to care about my standard, right? But I don't have to care about your standard either. It's not, unless you're claiming it's objective and you can demonstrate it's the case, you have just an opinion also. So your opinion, your standard is in literally the same boat as mine. I don't have to accept yours. That's all I want to say. Next question.
Can I actually address one thing as well? I don't think you're actually aware of this, Skylar, but the 10 Commandments aren't for God, they're for us. So if you actually look at those things holistically, instead of just focusing on one thing, you would actually realize that, these things aren't actually applicable to God, right? And it says, thou shalt not murder, okay? So this is talking about killing of innocence, right? Now, in regards to God, that's what you're getting confused on. In regards to God, he is not subject to these commandments, right? Does that mean that his nature violates these commandments? Absolutely not. What we are saying is that he is the author of life. He has authority over life. He can giveth, he can taketh, okay? So he's not subject to the conditions that you're trying to impose him under. If he was, again, looking at these things holistically, he would have to do all these things which are, subject to humans, as in worship himself. It's not something we see.
Would God order someone to sexually assault a child to death? It would be moral.
Do we have an example of that happening?
Oh, no, I'm just asking hypothetically. Would he do it?
Look,
because he can.
I don't know if you know the
no.
TOS.
What if
Oh my
I
lord!
don't
I'd
look.
love to
One
just
second.
engage with.
I don't know
I'll
if you know
answer.
the
Let him
TOS.
answer it. Let him ask it. But
Just one
it's an issue with
second.
his
One
question
second.
already.
1 second, please. He's already made the moral argument like 50 million times. So it's really important just to say this. There's no need to mention like certain
You're a
child
coward, bro.
abuse things when you can
Other
make that
people may wanna
argument by
hear it,
not
bro.
mentioning
But
child
not Fox.
abuse.
Not Fox. Just let him finish
It's
it. Like the
against
issue is.
TOS.
But,
Okay,
yeah.
please don't go too crazy on the child abuse stuff. Thank you.
Okay, I hadn't been, right? The reason I ask is because all I've heard so far is that no matter what how he chooses to take life, drowning babies, or doing it how he did in 1 Samuel, it's moral. So what I'm interested, what I'm interested in knowing is there any way he can't do it and it would be immoral if he did it a certain way? Because that was my point with the kind of violence.
Just
can I answer your question,
Somebody's
please?
going to answer his question. If you answer his question, then we can go.
So any way that God could take life, which would not be moral. I can't think of anything.
Okay, can I answer your question, please? I don't know why I'm getting muted.
Christianity. Okay,
go
ahead.
Excellent.
Wait,
Okay.
1 second. But the issue is.
So oh
Can
gosh.
I do the follow up, or do I just get
I
the
feel
one
like
word response?
ADJ is going. Yeah, sorry, mate.
Yeah, like this guy's streaming, and I get one word response, and he goes, "Oh, there's Christianity." Okay, now again, you have category issues. You keep conflating to say that the obligations of God, which he has none, and the obligations of man, which we have many, are both in accordance to the same standard. This is not even true. No Christian, Jew, or Muslim would ever say this to you. Okay, so this argument now is hinging on a straw man. Now, when you say that's Christians for you, all you are doing is creating your own conceptualization of what Christianity is and then knocking it over, again imposing a straw man. Now, in terms of what we believe, when you made the question earlier, when you said, would God do such a thing which would be so abhorrent, would you do it? Well, that's actually changing the nature of who God is. So hypothetically, your hypothetical God, which you've just created, is a God that isn't even consistent with the God of Christianity. Now, I would encourage you to actually read these books instead of just making these straw man arguments. And if you have any better questions, that would be highly regarded as please do that.
Okay, once again, I didn't ask you if you would do it. I never brought up you doing something at all. I simply asked you, you keep calling me a straw man, but all I'm doing is ask you questions. And then once you give an answer, I say, well, this is what you believe, Christianity believes. Right? And I said, hey, I'm still, I mean it when you talked. Please don't interrupt me. Okay? So when I asked you, is there any way that he could kill a child that would be immoral? And that's why I gave the specific example. You said, no, I can't think of any. Right? And so that's what Christianity is. There is no way that God could kill someone, take a life that would be immoral.
Now, is that wrong?
It's apparently not wrong to you.
Is that wrong? Is it objectively
no, of course not. But there's no objective morality that anybody can demonstrate.
So then when you use this as a criticism, are you appealing to people's subjective emotions?
Well, what I'm doing is showing to educate what you guys believe. That's what I'm doing.
And how are you trying to do it? Are you educating them? Are you educating them through choosing people to expose this to that share the same subjective, empathetical, whatever that thing means to you, empathetical beliefs? So when you go along and apply these criticisms, you don't actually have any objective, verifiable standard on why you can prove these things to be valid criticisms. You're just appealing to people that think like you.
Neither do you. Do you have an objective standard you can demonstrate?
Yeah.
Demonstrate it.
Physically?
Show it to be the case.
Okay. Invite me over to your home, and I'll punch you in the face and steal your wallet, and I guarantee you'll complain about it.
Oh, well, that would still be in a subjective morality.
And I'll prove that'll prove it to you if you want me to prove it to you.
No,
You'll say I did something wrong by you.
It would just prove that I got mad at you. I had emotions and opinions about you hitting me. How
They seem irrational then.
It's not.
Okay, now let me ask you a question. If I came to your house and gave you lots of money in a car, would you then be mad at me?
No, I'd feel happiness. I'd feel the emotion of happiness and gratitude.
Oh, okay. So
Which are
why
both
is that?
emotions. Well, it's emotions.
I hope, sir, that you're not emotionally unstable and that when you come to these certain emotions, they're based on some sort of rationale, right?
I think that doesn't happen in reality.
I think it does happen in reality. So if I came into your house and, like, you know, hypothetically tortured everybody in there for fun, you would deem that as wrong.
Objectively,
You wouldn't sit there and go, oh, well, you know, I guess our door should have been locked.
Do you think that, like, people's opinions you don't think people take their opinions just as, like, seriously? We vote, we do things based on our opinions. Like, you're acting as if, like, opinions don't have any effect on your life, and you don't. Yeah, but that's all you have unless you can demonstrate it. Can you demonstrate objective morality?
Yes, I said, fly me over to your home and I'll demonstrate it to you. I'll do something wrong to you and we'll see this mad reaction happening.
That's called, you know what subjective morality is? It's emotions and opinion. That reaction would be an emotion.
Subjective morality doesn't even exist, my friend. If you're going to reduce morality, down to opinion, then it doesn't exist. Just adopt existentialism and be like, well, I should have locked my door and kept my kids safer.
I'm an anti-moralist. It's just your opinion. Can you demonstrate objective morals exist?
I don't care what label you want to attach to yourself. Again, like, you're not demonstrating anything.
I don't think you know what these terms mean. I think that's part of the problem.
Any person can make up terms and just hide behind it and think it means something.
I made those terms up. I made anti-moral realism up. I made that term up.
Mate, every 2 years, somebody's this new anti-neo, like, you know, but who cares? You're hiding behind a term. You don't actually know what it is. You showed to us before that
schools and education.
You proved to us before that you believe in things without reason or evidence.
Have you shown me evidence or reason for your beliefs?
Skylar, may I just ask you, you realize that some people's emotional reactions are different to others? Like, and if you're just working on a level of opinion, you find 1,000 people who have 1,000 different opinions. So how do you differentiate by someone who emotionally finds it pleasing to be sadistic and someone like you who finds it emotionally pleasing to be empathetic? Do you say that these are both equivalent and equal and you can't differentiate them? That's just what he prefers. This is what you prefer. This is how he feels. This is how you feel. How do you differentiate between the sadists and the empathetic person to be able to criticize the sadists? Because you're just saying this is how you feel and it's its own justification.
Self-fulfilling, yeah.
Well, this is what we do in a society, folks. We express our opinions. In fact, we do it through voting. This is why we have different political parties that have different values.
And
we
those
have
are built off.
I'm still talking.
Those are built off heaps of presuppositions, but aren't these?
We still have countries where they have, like, you know, Saudi Arabia. Their values are completely different from our American culture, right? Because they have different opinions based on their culture.
Oh, American culture came out of a vacuum, didn't it? It's just what. 2022. All of a sudden, American culture, democracy. Oh wow, where did it all come from? Definitely. It must have just come from the this anti-realist moral bullshit you came from.
It's changed.
Okay.
Morality changes.
Amazing.
Maybe there's somebody else there.
Great American democratic vacuum.
But now we're talking about politics, and I'm not interested in that. That's not what this chat room's about. So, look, this is it, right, Skylar? I don't know if there's somebody else that wants to go. Aquila, maybe. Did you want to try and have a go with?
It's just that, Skylar, like the position that you work from, you cannot criticize people who enjoy doing disgusting things. Like, you cannot criticize the serial killer because that's just how he feels. Like, he feels this is like a good way to live.
Stops me.
No.
What in the universe stops me from criticizing people?
It's pointless. Okay. It has no meaning.
Hold on.
That's your
because
opinion.
What you're going to say is that you just find his actions repugnant. And then he's going to turn around and say that he finds your attitudes repugnant, and you're just going to disagree. There's no foundation for you to say that what he's doing is wrong.
You have a foundation you can demonstrate? Hold on.
Just add on that. Just add on that just quickly, Scholar. And to add on that, for you to have any sort of response in terms of any appeal, like if your neighbor was beating his children to a living pulp every single day and then spitting on his wife in the front lawn, rationally, because that's just his opinion and his values, well then you ought not to do anything. If you invoke any sort of guilt, responsibility, or anything on the emphasis to help those people, what you are then doing is proclaiming that your opinion holds higher value, and what you are doing and what you ought to be doing are in conformity to a certain right way of doing things. If you held consistent to these beliefs, you would get out your deck chair, crack a beer, and sit there watching him beat his kids and
You
wife.
don't know what you're talking about. It's complete bullshit. People express their opinions. This is how history works. You express your opinions.
No, it's not.
People do it. Yeah.
No, it's
People
not.
don't express their
ADJ,
opinions
you've
through
got to
physical
stop, man.
violence. People do it through physical violence. People do it vocally, right? This is why war is the last level of diplomacy. When two countries are fighting, that's why war is the last level of it, because it just gets to a point where it's like, hey, we think we're right. We think we're
It's
right.
not even
and
historically true.
Yeah, yes, I do. Well, you haven't studied
Look.
history. I'm sorry if you haven't, because I've
Okay,
studied
look,
history,
I mean,
and
we've
that's
got to let him
blatantly
finish his
not true.
point.
The
Look,
Anglo-Saxons-
ADJ,
Look at our
one more
Civil War
interruption.
with
I'm
the
going to
perfect
mute you.
Civil War
He's
being a great
long-winded,
example.
I know, but you can't interrupt him, and the sniping comments are just going to make him go on for longer, man.
The
So,
ancient Anglo-Saxons engaged in diplomacy with the ancient Britons? No, not at all. There's no evidence for that
You know how the
whatsoever.
American Civil War worked? You know how the American Civil War worked?
Yeah.
look, and now you're getting back into politics. It's done. That's it. Stop, ADJ, please. I don't know if you got your question there answered, Aquila, because
I'm not going
obviously...
to I'm just pointing out that his historical,
Stop,
his
ADJ,
historical
man.
presuppositions
You've
are
been
wrong.
going on for ages, please, man. Aquila, did you get your question answered? Do you feel like it was answered fully?
I think so, but it's kind of disturbing because America's changing now in a way which, as a Christian, I'd find as a Catholic distasteful, where just say the baby boomers were like 0.8% identifying as LGBTQ or whatever it is. And then you have Gen X at like 2%, Gen Y at 5%, and now apparently Zoomers are at 21%. And it just may well end up, and now you have like this weird, the slippery slope of tolerance where it moves from tolerate them to accept them to celebrate them, and then advocating experimentation, where you literally have in schools people teaching kids how to perform sexual acts, which would just be like simulations of sex, which would be like oral, anal, etc., etc. It may just end up and connected to things like MAPS, which is what they're calling now minor attracted people. America may end up being a place where all sorts of what we'd consider, like I'd hope most people would just, even on the emotional sense, if they have no moral sense, at least on the emotional sense, find distasteful. You may end up where anything goes, where people are just used as sexual commodities. But if everyone goes along with that democratically and everyone shares the same opinion, you'd say, well, that's how society is, that's how people feel. You wouldn't have a basis to criticize it, to look around you in 20 years from now and say that this is disgusting, this is wrong. Or say, well, that's just how people feel. I don't think that kind of morality is something you can call morality, because it just changes where, how the trends change.
This is how the world works, guys.
Subjective thing.
It's how. Hold on, I was speaking, and you jumped on this. This is how the world works, guys.
This is how the modern world works.
No,
okay, so this is it, right? Skylar, I really want to get down to this. Obviously,
you've been a rude motherfucker.
Look,
you interrupted. Go eat a bag of dicks.
Okay, dude. Obviously, bye. Okay, sorry, guys. He obviously only brought one good argument. I really wanted to get that on his little stream thing, but he only brought one argument, and it was an emotional argument, and that's a crap argument, obviously, as we all know. So that's all he had. Skylar Fiction. Woo.
That's just how the way the world works, man. Unless you're from all the people, like the world must have just been born into a vacuum from the 1960s.
But the thing is, like, even if he's true to his, like, he's just like probing Christianity and asking like for the most, like little questions, or searching out for the one or two incidents in the Bible to cause disgust in his audience against Christianity. I think if he applied that same methodology to modern society, it would be more disgusting. Like women literally ripping fetuses out of their wombs. And this is fine. This is actually to be celebrated. It's to be even encouraged. It's like, you've got a profession, you get pregnant, you should have an abortion. But it just has this disgusting kind of anti-Christian slant to it, and he doesn't apply it to anything else. It's just essentially anti-Christianity.
Why is it wrong for God to kill babies? Oh, I also support abortion. It's just, it's not a real very well facilitated worldview. But I think in terms of atheists, a lot of them have polemic arguments which really hinge on the emotional response. But in terms of apologetics, it's next to nothing. It's just faith-based positions. Oh, I believe in science. We'll discover something naturalistic in the universe to explain the universe.
It's just emotion and personal opinion, to be honest.
He
It's
left
nothing else.
he left just
If you
before I
feel
could
like
ask him.
that, that
If
must
you
be it.
apply, he left just before I could ask him. If you apply the same methodology to secular society, it would be even more disgusting. But he won't. And then I would have had the follow-up question, so why do you hate Christianity so much?
It's because I think they're better than God. Like, his whole thing was God is doing something wrong. What, according to you? It's like, you know how Andrew Tate's like, what color is your Bugatti? I just wanted to ask him, what color is your universe? You tell us about how to run a universe better than how God does it.
Yeah. It may just be that he's like essentially like
Well, he's
at his
entitled to his own opinion, but
sorry, I was mid-sentence. He may just be at his core anti-authoritarian. He just finds it distasteful that anybody claim to have like have a normative claim. He just hates authority.
But you're right.
That
Like,
whole
if some person's not going to affirm an objective morality, and then you see something happening, you can't be disdained by it. You have to just look at it and go, "Oh well, I'm happy that's not happening to me." If you invoke any sort of emotional response, that's just retarded.
I was quite surprised yesterday to hear that you don't pray to the saints.
No.
I mean, if it's okay, just before we move on to any other topics, because I'm definitely going to get off once we've rounded this out. But basically, from what I saw there, his position, he basically just brought this moral position where he was complaining about the fact that it's sad to kill babies based on his standard.
That's all it was.
He's doing an internal critique, which is obviously not an internal critique, because he laid out quite clearly, and ADJ laid out quite clearly, that he wasn't actually subscribing to the moral system that was set by God. He was imposing his own worldview and the moral system of the people in the audience and him, like, oh, it's wrong to kill babies as a group, on the Christian worldview. So the fact that he doesn't understand that that's not an internal critique it's just ridiculous, honestly. He thinks that's an internal critique.
No, it's literally just preaching to the choir. It's confirmation bias. Hey, we all hate Christians, right? Look at this thing we all like find silly in the Bible. Ha ha.
Exactly.
If you asked them what's the line above it or below it, say, they couldn't tell you. If you had a gun pointed to their head and say, tell me the line above it or below it, they couldn't tell you. They can only tell you that one verse.
This guy thinks it's more rational to say, I can barely know anything about reality, and I don't know anything about the God really that created me, other than that it's not the Christian God, according to him. He's saying he's basically got no standard of truth that he can necessarily appeal to that's objective. But he's come to the conclusion that he's got a creator God, right? And then he's critiquing the Christian worldview as if it's incomprehensible and incoherent, even though his worldview, he's just got like axiomatic positions that he's not justified, right? And then he's critiquing our position, which is like a coherent, fully, it's a systematic epistemology
Quick
with
question:
all
what's
of
his
the
YouTube
different...
channel called?
Skylar Fiction.
Yeah,
I'll
probably.
send it to you in a sec. It's like listening to these dorks who get onto YouTube and TikTok and do massive like commentaries on the Marvel universe and Batman and stuff like that, and then they full get like really like they start to hate it because something aesthetically in it doesn't please them and it goes against their like. That's all that it is. It doesn't conform to my vision, my immersion. Therefore, I don't like it.
Is his YouTube even popular, or are you just putting him on a pedestal in this debate because he was
He's
recording
got
for YouTube?
5.8k subscribers.
I don't really look. The thing was he was coming in here. He's got this ridiculous worldview. Obviously, nobody agrees with it or anything. But then there was instantly a lot of people that wanted to ask a lot of questions straight away and to try and debunk him, which is basically what we do in here. I feel like I personally would have definitely just spanked him on the fact that he can't know anything about his God, he can't know anything about his system. But I didn't really get. I felt like there were a lot of people that were really eager, and I should have, and I felt I should let other people go first. So, but yeah,
Mr. Batman pointed that out though.
Yeah, Mr. Batman
pointed
actually.
that out. Like it's like, who is your God then? And it's like, you don't know anything about him. How do you know this? And then he
Right.
says he's a creator God. Well, then that's two things he knows about his God. So what he's saying actually isn't truthful either.
Reminding me of Mr. Batman, and I know some of you might not appreciate that, but that actually makes me feel better about the fact that he must have got stumped on a few of them questions, and it's on his recording, so that's cool.
They won't go into his channel.
I feel like you wrecked him as well. I mean, Aquila's breakdown was savage. Pretty epic, really. That guy's recording, he just got destroyed, really. So on his own YouTube, so that's pretty funny.
Foxy, you know the issue with the Bible. Everyone's got an argument against it, but barely anyone's actually read it. I asked someone the other day, name all the books of the New Testament you've read in full, and they started quoting Genesis, Exodus. I was like, that's not New Testament, man. It's not New Testament.
I think I know all the. I don't know all the. I mean, do you know? Because Darth used to test people and stuff, so it'd be like, what's the fifth book of the Old Testament or something? It just
Well, you
but
have
to
to.
be honest, I don't know
think
them
you have
all.
to.
I don't.
Yeah, well, I think at some point you have to sort of gauge how much knowledge someone has, right? Because it's really easy to get on the Google and type in biblical contradictions and just run off like verse by verse from two different books talking about two very different things. But when you look at the two things and compare, oh wow, you have a contradiction. Literally read 2 or 3 verses above it on either side of each verse, and you no longer have a contradiction.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that guy, obviously he made the crappiest argument ever. I don't feel like he justified his position at all. His critiques of other people's positions were terrible, and he got wrecked. So that's it.
I joined it late, and I get frustrated when someone's talking about God. Everyone goes off into epistemology. It's like everyone's got their little hobby here. So that's not supposed to be a swipe, but it doesn't dig down to where he's arguing from, and then applying that to everything. Like his model of critique is just let's find what's disgusting in this worldview. And I'd say, well, then like apply that technique to other worldviews and say, like, if you're just going to do this, like, which is more disgusting, is there anything less disgusting than Christianity?
Democracy? What do you mean?
Democracy, your jokes, man.
That's just how the world is. Like, oh no, it's not. War is like the last diplomatic resort. No, it's not. Sometimes it's the first.
I knew that guy. He was obviously squirming in the beginning. Do you know those people that are really like pedantic and stuff, and they moan about every single interruption ever. And I know I do that quite a lot, but he's a particular type. And if I didn't get it, he would have just, he would never have had the conversation. And I feel like it was good. It was a good exercise just to, when you get people like that, God 420, someone like that, it's best to just be incredibly patient with them, because then you just get all their bullshit out in the open, so. Okay, well, it's been great. I mean, I don't know what you're saying, Aquila. Obviously, you've got the moderation powers. I was thinking about putting some kind of schedule on the thing. So, like, up until a certain time, like maybe we're going to have like some American mods, and then maybe you can do the Aussie time situation. And then maybe me and Face and a couple of other people will do British time, and I'll put a schedule out so that everybody knows how the hierarchy works at different times. So
I don't think I could commit to a thing. Like when you asked me if I would be mod, I would say, like, if I'm there and it's getting a bit unruly, I'll do what I can. And
yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like if it's Mr. Batman's time, obviously if you help him, but he at that time will have final decision. I don't know if I'm making Mr. Batman a mod, but we're thinking about what we're doing here. But you know what I mean.
I mean, what I've been doing is like I don't like to talk about the moderation because it just interrupts stuff. And so if someone's starting to reply and someone's chipping in, I'll just mute the guy who's chipping in, even if he's like a principal participant, until the other guy finishes his answer, immediately unmutes. Like, I'm not going to be announcing it. I just like, if people are
I really hope that you'll be here in the hours when I'm, not here, because you'll do a fantastic job of it. But that's what, I try to do as well. But at given times, I think that the order's going to shift. So like maybe during the Aussie time more, when you're on, you don't have to do it all the time. But when you're on, then you're, going to be in control at that time. And if Mr. Batman's there, then you overrule him, But then when it's Mr. Batman's time, which might be like 8 until 2 or something, then if he says, look, Aquila, this is what I would like, then you hopefully it won't be a problem between you guys, and then everything's going to be cool. And we'll have a great
kind of weird because in terms of just arguing theism, and this channel seems very much geared to like the epistemological justification kind of slant on things and just theism in general. It's not a topic that I'm particularly keen on, especially like the precept thing. I just find, what's the point of it? Yeah, sure. It's just saying like I'm right. Other worldviews are epistemologically less consistent, but I don't.
No, this is it, right? So in your time, you can do what you want. You're in control. You'll, during the Aussie times, be able to decide what the conversation is. I trust your judgment. You're a good Christian. It makes for a good quality theist experience type experience, and I hope that that everything's going to go well. But I'll put out the schedule if you don't mind. I just wanted to briefly mention that, and I know that we're different in a lot of ways, but as long as the time zone thing's cool with you, then I don't see why our differences would be a problem, You get what I mean?
Hey, far out.
Okay, so anyway, and I would, I'll message you in private about a couple of things anyway, but I don't know if anybody else has got anything that they want to add on the whole conversation to do with that Skylar thing, or if they've got another topic that they want to bring up, but
just a comment that he's kind of position where it's like just poke at others and say you're revolting and have like an emotional reaction. As unpleasant as it is, it does seem to be ascendant. It's like it's just so commonplace now, and that's just how people operate.
Yeah, he's just appealing to people's emotions, and it's just that's it. That's all he had. And I think the maddest part about it is that he just said the same thing. He thinks that he's like making a greater case each time, but we can all understand exactly what the argument he made is from the first time he says it. But he just insisted on responding to every single point everybody made with the same thing, which was it's sad because God does things that are bad, in my opinion, which is just, I don't know, man. And the thing is that he sat there trying to be condescending as well.
Ultimately, he was right because he says that's just the way the world is now, and it is. And I'm not saying like that's a good position. I don't think he'd even claim that it's a good position. It's just the reality of how people operate. And I don't think people are actually interested in what's true, what's objective, holding themselves to the same standard, holding the things they agree with to the same standard as they do people who they disagree with. It's just a horrible state of affairs at the moment. I don't see people caring about morals. They're just caring that they hate this person or this group.
Yeah, no, I exactly the same thing. Yeah, to be honest, I think it's crazy because that guy obviously is really popular or something. He's got like a few people that watch his thing. Same with Tom Rabbit, and all they're doing is they're just complaining about their feelings and stuff like that. And it's so crazy to me because it seems like there's more people like that than actually engage in their brain. You know, and honestly, that's one of the things that makes me so more depressed than anything about the humans overall. It's like, are people actually thinking, or are they just being lazy, essentially? Is everyone just lazy?
I just wonder, in terms of priorities, like, is it more important that people actually care about morals or care about truth? Or in terms of, like how the Western world is at the moment, what's the foundation for people actually starting to change?